Well, good evening, Marylanders. I'm Mia Mason. I'm the first congressional candidate out here in Maryland. So it's been quite a while since our election primary, and I happen to be the first trans woman as a Democratic nominee. And happens to be, I'm joined by several other women who are winners and future winners of our entire No Dem Left Behind coalition. So let's bring them in and get this fundraiser going, because we need you to make a donation tonight. So let's bring them in. We got Natalie Cline and Cindy Banyai. Here we go. So,
yeah.
I
was like,
there you go. So, Cindy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Mia, for having us here this evening. It's so exciting to, share time together with our No Dem Left Behind family members. But I am running in Florida Congressional District 19. That's Southwest Florida, Fort Myers, and Naples area. That's the West Coast. And I'm a mom and small business owner. And I'm fighting for our water, our health, and our community. And I'm really working to be the servant leader that the people of Southwest Florida deserve, to create an area where the sun shines on everyone.
Perfect. And Natalie, our neighbor in West Virginia, we got 100 days. Tell us what's going on over there.
Yeah, so thanks for doing this tonight. I'm Natalie Cline. I'm running for U.S. House here in West Virginia's 1st Congressional District. And I am really running for our healthcare, our jobs, our kids. And in the first 100 days, since everything needs to safely be virtual, we're really focusing a lot on text banking, phone banking with, some virtual get out the vote, voter registration assistance, things of that nature. And we're planning to pair up with some other candidates, safely wearing masks, and do some no-knock canvassing, in hopes that, the more, little door hangers that we're hanging at once, maybe people will actually, pay more attention to them if there's more than one on their doorknob at a time. And also to help each other as candidates in this district to be able to increase our name recognition and help us get our messages out there. And of course, also continuing to do as many virtual town halls as we can with, different counties and No Dem Left Behind.
Excellent. In Maryland, our governor has released that we're going to be doing in-person voting this November. It's kind of a big no-no. Just yesterday, we've had like a 400 case increase, now up nearly 800 cases. And Florida, we know that you're a hot spot. West Virginia is kind of going bigger. And it looks like somebody else has kind of joined in to us, one of the boys. They can wait till next week. We'll tell them to join us next week. Bye-bye, Dennis. But we will make sure that everybody else gets to be part of the team here. And in this, we want to make sure that our voters vote by mail. How are y'all doing it in your district? Are y'all voting by mail or voting in person?
Vote by mail. Luckily for us in Florida, we already had vote by mail as part of our established elections routine. And I believe that the Florida Democratic Party just signed up their millionth vote by mail registrant. So that's a great step forward, for us in that. And myself and my team and some other activists in the area, we're making sure that our local supervisors of elections are well capacitated to handle the influx of those vote by mail ballots when they come in as well.
Excellent. And West Virginia, it's very rural, very hilly, very mountainous. It's not having the same issues that we're having out here on our shores. So what's going on out in your community?
As far as vote by mail goes?
Yes.
So it's, I think, still a little undetermined. We did a pretty good job during the primary election in the fact that everybody was able to get the application to apply to vote absentee. Our state constitution requires you to fill out an application in order to get your absentee ballot. And everybody was eligible to select for medical issues because of COVID. and they were therefore able to get their absentee ballot and vote by mail. And I'm anticipating that that is most likely what's going to be occurring for the general election as well, but I have not seen any major updates or releases yet as to whether or not everybody's going to continue to be eligible under medical reasoning for receiving their absentee ballot for COVID. I would anticipate it probably will be the same. We had a very large turnout for absentee voting during the primary, and it went very smoothly. So hopefully we can continue to do that in the general election and keep our most vulnerable citizens at home and give them that kind of peace of mind.
I agree. And that's why we're running. We're fighting as a coalition. And this is why we need your support. We're a grassroots organization. And those little dollars matter when you donate to No Dim Left Behind, because it makes a difference, because it splits between all of us candidates to make our red districts blue. One of the biggest concerns that our families are fighting with right now is having to choose between their job, their health care, their employer, their child care, and going to school. We've seen employers say, you must show up, you must do this, you must do that. And they're making the choice to basically go unemployed to take care of their kids, or send their kids back to school. What do you say about this? Sydney, you're a mom.
Yeah, that's right. I got 3 little ones, 2 kids who are in public school, and then my youngest is actually one of those people who's in the vulnerable population. She had a rare blood disease earlier in her life and had respiratory failure previously. So she's somebody who's very at risk with the COVID-19. So it's very fortunate for me. I'm very privileged in that I could really just move virtual. I'd been working virtual before. I teach virtual classes at Florida Gulf Coast University, and I just kind of flipped on the virtual switch for our campaign, but not everybody can do that. And so it's been a real big challenge for us here. Of course, Trump mandated that schools open, and then his Coney best friend, Ron DeSantis, just said, yeah, of course, everybody in Florida mandate that the schools are open, but we actually have a huge grassroots groundswell to combat this, because there are many of us who have vulnerable children, vulnerable family members, as well as the kids and the teachers. So there's a couple initiatives that I've been supporting here. One of them is actually a group of activist teachers and staff at the school district here, and actually they're classmates, my daughter's classmates' mom, and teachers at my daughter's school. So I'm very excited that they've got themselves ready, but we're doing a car caravan and petition campaigns to stop the physical opening of the buildings, because they're looking at the reality of the situation as educators, understanding that it's an impossible task to ask small children to social distance and masks and the whole nine. And then there's also another grassroots group of parents that I'm working to support as well. And what we're trying to do is essentially support parents in this kind of quasi-virtual space, which is one of the options that they have for us, knowing that people are going to have to go back to work and things like that. So we're trying to do kind of like a neighborhood matching protocol kind of thing, so that parents can kind of share responsibility of helping to do virtual school with their kids, and some resources. So if they do have to go to work or something like that, that they can share that load with their neighbors. And I'm so happy to kind of support these grassroots activists in our community to help keep our kids safe and to keep our families going through this most challenging time.
Wow, amazing. And what about Natalie? Go for it. Tell us what's going on. How can we help in our schools and help with the children that we have to take care of?
We need to be listening to our experts, our scientists, our medical professionals, and we also need to be listening to our teachers and parents. I have a 5-year-old who is supposed to be starting kindergarten this fall. Now, our governor has, we were supposed to start back in August, and our governor has already come out and said that he's mandating that no schools can start before September 8th, or that schools must start on September 8th. So he has begun to acknowledge this issue and take some precautions. I personally feel September 8th is still way too early. I don't think we're going to be out of the woods yet with COVID. And one of the things that I think we need to realize is that it is such a large task to expect our teachers to be ultimately responsible for making sure that every single kid always has their mask on, checking their temperatures every day, making sure everybody's following proper hand washing techniques in every single classroom. And a lot of our schools already have too many kids in, in each one of these classrooms. And I find it just absurd to expect our teachers and our kids to put themselves at this kind of risk and potentially be bringing this home when we are releasing criminals from prison to avoid potentially getting COVID in an overcrowded prison system, as our president, has recently done. So why would we go and put our children, our teachers, and our kids at risk? And right now in West Virginia, we're hearing the most actually out of our teachers. Our teachers have always been very vocal, and our teachers are one of West Virginia's greatest assets. And in their vocalness, we are continuously hearing how this is not safe. This level of expectation it's just not possible. And it's going to continue to spread if we are back in the classrooms on September 8th. So hopefully we will, our teachers will be able to further convince our governor to push the mandate back. One of the things I think we need to keep in mind here is that a lot of our schools switched to a virtual platform kind of towards the end of the school year, when everybody had to very quickly close and we were trying to flatten the curve. Well, that has brought attention to how desperately we rely on broadband access. And in places like rural West Virginia, we have quite a few communities that do not have access to broadband internet. And this just highlights that need. It highlights the need to make sure that we are responsibly getting last mile connections made so that our kids are able to participate in education if we were to go to a virtual platform. And I think that's part of the problem is, how are we supposed to say all of these kids have to go to a virtual platform because it's not safe for all of them to be back in school, but not all of them have the ability to access it. So it's quite a conundrum that we have ourselves in right now. But I think that we can start to eliminate a lot of these issues if everybody would just put their freaking mask on.
Yeah, I completely agree, because even out on the Eastern Shore, where we have a lot of rural schools that people actually have to drive to school, a hybrid option is kind of the best choice, for our schools, because some are in the city where kids can go to and the parents want the kids to go to school because they're making that decision of like, I have to go to work, I have to make this job. And the teachers were screaming at Dr. Fauci today at the Georgetown University saying, the kids aren't going to wear their masks. They're going to bully each other on the school bus where the rules are not, not governed by the teachers. They're not governed by anybody else. And the parents aren't there to get them to wear their mask, and they're not going to care, just like the 20-year-olds that are out there drinking. And we have to enforce it. We have to tell them why that mask is important, because, Betsy DeVos was there on TV, saying that, they're going to lose their funding if they don't reopen. And it's shameful that they're going to take it away and deport our kids because the schools didn't reopen, and ICE is going to do this and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? They're going to lose their legal cases. Betsy DeVos is going to lose her legal case for forcing our schools to reopen. The governors are going to lose their cases. They're just creating a legal nightmare for everybody, and they're not accepting the liability that, we actually have to do enforcement of wearing the mask. The governor issued, finally, after 4 months, getting the counties to get people to be accountable for wearing the mask. People are finally doing the research that they have to wear the mask. And it will make a big difference. Go ahead, Cindy, what you got?
Teacher, I want to throw in here. I actually wanted to say something because there's a lot of components to the mask issue, especially in the light of the the Black Lives Matter movement when we're thinking about enforcement and who gets policed more, right? But on that, I want to say that I've actually lived through a pandemic and been a teacher through a pandemic during SARS in Taiwan.
I was there too.
Let me tell you, yes, there you are. And one of the things that's so different, so vastly different, is that when SARS was kind of starting to be a thing in Taiwan, everybody said, whoa, this is a really big deal. Let's work to get ahead of it. Yeah. So people started wearing a mask about a month before they did the shutdown in Taipei. The schools started doing temperature checks of kids weeks before the shutdown.
And then checking happened too.
Yeah, and it was when it really was started to hit, everybody just wore the mask with this idea that this is where we need to come together to stop the pandemic. And there was no controversy about this kind of situation here. There was even no necessity for public shaming because there was leadership that said, this is what we need to do. This is a serious threat. Everybody has to do their part, and people did it. Now, sometimes people will say, oh, that's a different culture, blah, blah, blah. I will argue that it does come down to leadership. And if you have somebody who's unifying around public health, then we can get these things done. And that's absolutely what the opposite of what we've seen here. So I just wanted to throw that kind of piece out there because it could have been possible, and it has been done. And we're in the middle of the biggest failure in history, and I'm so sorry for all of us.
I agree, because one of the biggest things that even when I was over there, and I was going through that pandemic as well for the avian bird flu, SARS, MERS, all of it, is, they had all their hydrogen peroxide scrubbers. They were changing the saran wrap 4 to 8 times a day. And even us on the ships, we were cleaning it 3 to 8 times more than we would do, for the 15-30 minutes that we were allotted to do, just to make sure that anybody that came on board or left, we made sure that it was clean. We made sure that everybody was safer and healthier where we lived, because that was our home. It still instills into me to this day to have a clean home, and it becomes like an OCD. But here in America, it's like you have garbage everywhere, and it's like, it's like normal everyday place, and it becomes an environmental hazard, and it affects our climate, and it's not good for us, and it affects our health, and it causes a cost increase for us all, and somebody's going to have to pay for it, and it's our children. And then we're trying to tell them to wear a mask, and then they just don't believe in us. They rather just reset the video game as if it's going to be, the next VR thing, and we're living in it. They're not going to believe us until it actually dawns on them and they study and realize that it's going to affect them now with global climate change and everything else. And this pandemic is just the iceberg that is haunting them, that they're not understanding. It is hurting them for the rest of their lives, in the heart, the lungs, and the mind. And they're not going to teach that in school. We have a billionaire who is basically pushing their religious ideology onto our children, and it has to stop this November. I got a representative that I'm running against who wants to just push women around and own them as property because, we should be used as birthing tools. That's the wrong answer. He votes against everybody. He wants to make sure DC never becomes a statehood, but he hates driving there. And he's not really a doctor. He goes up against Dr. Fauci because he spews against Representative. He's basically a mini Donald Trump. So with this, we want everybody to make sure that you support all 3 of us by making your donation to No Dumb Left Behind. And with that, us 3 ladies, we're taking a short break, and we'll be right back. welcome back, everybody. Sydney had to get going because of her mommy duties. But we are left with Natalie from West Virginia's 1st District. So we got 2 winners in the house here. And we're going to keep rocking it with No Dumb Left Behind. And we got the little scroll bar working this time. So shout out to all of us. Follow us online. Natalie, what's your social media handle? How can we find you?
So you can find me on Facebook at Natalie Cline for Congress. You can also find me on Twitter at Natalie Cline WV. And our website is natalieklineforcongress.com.
Good. And I'm at Mia4MD, and my website is miadmason.us. And that's the best way to reach me. My phone number, because I'm the actual representative and candidate who answers the phone, is 41094-MASON. But honestly, we're here to support our coalition No Dumb Left Behind, which their social media handle is at NDLB 2020, and their website is nodumleftbehind.com. And they have a little special announcement coming up this Thursday. Her name is Chelsea Handler. What does she do, Natalie?
Oh, well, she is a great, I don't even know, like, I don't have like the perfect word to describe her other than like amazing and awesome and always on point with everything that she has to say.
She's
besides
very well spoken
and critic and just, all around on point.
I know. I enjoy her like little quick ways of cooking and doing the other little comedy tidbits to keep you right on the edge of things. I mean, she's right up there with like Trevor Noah, where like, Stephen Colbert has like fallen off the radar. And I'm like, okay, great. We're going to be doing this. So, folks, this is free. We want you to join us this Thursday at 8 p.m. right here with us. All of us. All of our candidates. It's probably going to last about 2 hours. But Chelsea Handler is going to be with all of us, chatting to us directly. So, be there, be square, join us. Anything else you want to say, Natalie, to all of the folks out there in the entire United States?
I would just like to reiterate that. Join us on Thursday. Chelsea's amazing. She's just such a huge name. It'll be amazing to listen to everything that she has to say. It's a great opportunity to be able to engage with her and to be able to participate in something like this with someone of, her celebrity and her outlook on politics today. So I would just like to reiterate, I wouldn't want to miss Thursday.
Perfect. And everybody, honestly, I want you to vote by mail. Make your vote count this November. It's going to be the best thing that you do to stay safe. And for whatever time that you're outside, wear that mask. It is super vital that you do. And with that, God bless you. Have a great night. I'm Ian Mason. I'm running for Congress. Our voters are at the helm in 2020 because our education has failed us. Our infrastructure has failed us. With your driving force, we can fix that, especially in our healthcare, because your vote actually matters and you have the choice in 2020. I'm Ian Mason, and I approve this message.